Today's guest is Melanie Clark. She runs Fabriq with her husband Justin, and they are a curtain shop like not your average curtain shop these days. They're a bricks and mortar business here in Bendigo, but they manufacture all of their products in-house, which is really unique. Melanie and Justin have a great story of taking over the family business and growing it to where it is now, together with a full rebrand, a move of location, and changes in industries and ups and downs in business. This story has it all. I hope you'll learn something from it. I hope you get a really good insight into this industry and business. I really enjoyed it, so I hope you will too. Let's take it away. Melanie, thank you so much for joining me in the studio. This is really cool to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's quite a pleasure to be here as well too. Thank you, Caleb.
No worries. So, wow. So you have quite a long history in business in Bendigo. I'm going to start with my first memory of the old Reanne Curtains and Blinds.
Okay.
I was, under 10.
Yes.
And tripping around with mum. She was looking at curtains and there was like, you were the OG option. As far as I remember, it was like the premium product she wanted was Reanne Curtains
really?
and Blinds.
That's amazing. Wow.
And I'm pretty sure that those blinds still
there
yeah,
today.
I reckon they are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you know if she was she shopping with mum at that particular time? It must have been.
Yeah.
Must have been.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of grown from strength to strength. It's been a very long journey. So it all started back in 1995.
Please tell me.
Mum has always, I've been thinking a lot about how this all came about, but basically Mum and Dad bought the business in 1995. Prior to that, though, the business was started by a woman by the name of Jerry Nelson, who came from Boort, and she and her family came to Bendigo, and I can't really remember the reason why, but she has since moved back to Boort. So she started the business and the name was Reanne Curtains. So she had that relationship with Reanne. So, and I can't remember if it was her nana or her middle name. Anyway, so she started the business. Started out at High Street, Golden Square. There was a carpet place out there.
When are we talking? Like when's the?
It was probably, I reckon, in the 90s. So it would have been early 90s.
Okay.
It was only for a couple of years that she had it.
Okay.
And then, so Mum came on board and she was sewing for her because prior to that, Mum started sewing curtains when we were still in school. Dad was in the police force for 30-odd years, and it got to a point where Dad was working down in Melbourne and she needed to pick up a job. Because in those days, to take a promotion in the police force, you had to find a vacancy somewhere else in another station.
Yep.
And so he went down to Russell Street, which was D24 at the time, quite famous for back in those days. So head of the communications in the communications department there. And so with that, Mum was a contract sewer for Bendigo Curtain Service. And at that time, Bendigo Curtain Service was in the old Allen's Walk. And, there was haberdashery and a buzz of a place to walk through. And the sewing room for Bendigo Curtain Service was upstairs in the old exchange.
Really?
And overlooked the war memorial there. It was fantastic. It was amazing. So that was probably, I reckon, she was sewing there probably when I was in high school, senior high, something like that. I can remember because I would walk from Bendigo Senior High and I would either meet her there or something or other. I can't really remember, but definitely I can remember trudging up the stairs, and Mum would pick up the job, fabric and what have you, and then she would sew from home. And then sewing from home, so it sort of helped her out. When she was measuring, we'd do it on the floor, and so it was really, it's always been a part of our life. Curtains.
Yeah.
Then she moved from Bendigo Curtain Service, and then she started working for and in the showroom, more in the showroom and the shop of Bendigo Bulk Carpets and cut price curtains. And at that time, they were in where Bendigo Advertiser is, where
on
Williamson Street.
Williamson Street.
Yeah, so just in there, and so she would sew from there, and there was the car park in the back. And I can remember that when I got my license, that's the first I drove out in a little red Toyota there, and that's when I got my signed off on my license. And I don't know why I remembered that, but it's just one of those significant times that you do.
Yeah.
So she was sewing with them for quite some time. And then she came across Jerry and began sewing with her. And then Jerry moved in with Gaines Carpets, who was at that time in High Street Golden Square. And then something must have happened for whatever reason. Anyway, Jerry either must have needed to go back home or whatever. Anyway, so Mum and Dad decided to buy the business. And so they bought the business, and then they moved the business to Strathhill, where we were for quite some time.
Yes, long time. That's where I remember it.
Yes, and that's where LD wasn't there, but that was the tennis centre or the cricket centre up there.
Yep.
So they established Reanne Curtains from there. They never changed the name because they felt, it was sort of already established, and they thought, we'll just keep it running, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
And so Mum and Dad, so she found another seamstress to work with her, and Anne was with her from start to finish as well. So, and she would go out on all the measures, the consultations, installations, and all of that. She wouldn't do the installs. She had a contractor that came to do that from Maryborough and would probably do that twice a week.
Okay.
So she really built it up with her skill set, and she was flying blind as well too, because she was only. Back in those days, it was a housewife, and then she worked from home, and then all of a sudden she's landed and she's gone, let's buy a business. So it's a little bit, that was completely out of their field, and a lot of a risk, and Dad's not a risk taker either. But Mum has, like her mother and father, Nana and Papa, they were in the building trade, so they had their own business as well too. So, so whether that sort of strength and determination, it's in the blood. I think
wasn't completely foreign to run your own business.
Yep. So, so that's kind of the backstory.
Okay. And where do you come in?
So Mum and Dad had the business then for 15 years, and I was trying to work out where the overlap sort of came. But I was probably finishing up in university, I think, and I was down in Melbourne, and then I worked for a little bit, and Mum would come down to Melbourne because there would be whole fabric houses to see, there'd be trade shows to do. I'd studied graphic design at La Trobe University, Bachelor of Arts degree. I never was really a graphic designer per se. I was more of I didn't really have that creative flair for that sort of side of things, which is interesting. I was more of I landed my role into finished art.
Yeah. And
so more about the finishing touches and preparing everything for print and all of that sort of thing. Yep. So, so while Mum and Dad had the business, university, went down to Melbourne, married early. Then we went overseas, did the London thing, and, just as you do as young adults and you don't have any responsibilities, but saw a great part of the world. And one of my fondest memories in relation to our business was Trisha Guild, who is the owner of Designers Guild. And she, when we were over there, we, didn't have really a lot of money at all, as you do.
Yes.
But where we were living in Battersea was a short walk to Kings Road, Chelsea. And I can always remember walking up and down and always just stopping and peering like, a little girl in front of a lolly shop, just ogling at all these beautiful fabrics and designs of Trisha Guild, of Designers Guild. And she had this beautiful shop there, on Kings Road there, and can just fondly remember it. And I just always remember the colour, the freshness, and anyway, so that's always been a bit of a thing
Did that spark
for me.
something in you at the time?
I guess it probably sparked that, just probably fabric and colour and textures and things, and just how clever you can be with something that's very two-dimensional and then you make it into something that's three-dimensional. There's always been textiles in our family. Nana's was always a sewer, always doing quilts and things like that, and she, back in those days, they all made their own clothes. Mum made all of her clothes and, then, go through high school and you do all your home economics and your textiles. And that's kind of where I probably got the bug as well too. So I always have loved sewing, but unfortunately, today I don't have a lot of time to do it, but, maybe I'll get back into it one day. So then we came home, settled down in Melbourne, and then I worked for a design agency down in St Kilda, and that was a great experience. I was there for probably about 8 years and working on branding, high-end corporate work, CUB, craft, property developers. So I learned a lot from Andy Hoyne there. And so that was again a great experience, still young and ambitious. Then we decided that we wanted to have a family. So then that was that was a bit of a struggle. So Violet, our firstborn, she's an IVF baby. So there was that. So I've always been a hard worker and probably overworked more. And, when it sort of came to the home buyers, that was really quite a bit of a slap on the face to say, right, well, you need to get yourself in check. So anyway, with lots of tests and cycles and all the rest of it. Look, we were fortunate. We only had to do 3 cycles, but that was good. And then so Violet came along, and then I made the decision that I wouldn't return to work, that because I'd given a lot to my work, and now it was the family that was the priority. And Justin at that time, he was working for a company, and we were living in Point Cook, and he was travelling over to South Dandenong.
Wow.
So, he'd be leaving, over in the western suburbs to go over to the southeastern suburbs.
Whoa.
Awful. Anyway, so that was when Violet was born. So then I remember Mum and Dad rang and said, look, and it was a January, and they said, look, we're just thinking that we've had enough. And we've gone, oh, okay. And then then the whole conversation came, and I was talking to Justin and said, what about it? We know that we always want to move back to Bendigo, but we didn't really quite know why, when, or how. And I said, what do you think? You've got the skills. He's a qualified carpenter. He's a poultry farmer. He's an audio engineer.
Oh, wow.
He's got a plethora of skills.
That's quite a broad range.
It is a broad range. So I said, well, what do you think? And he said, sure. So anyway, we proposed it to Mum and Dad, and we said, well, this is what we think. What do you think? And we'll buy you out so that, that it's all neat and tidy that way.
Yeah.
And they've gone, we'd love you to. It's like
amazing.
Okay. So we bought the business.
Wow.
And
when was this? When did you buy the business?
So Violet was born in 2009. I reckon she had just turned 1. So it was 2010. Yes, 2010. Wow. So officially October 2010. So October this year it'll be 15 years. So it's gone so quick. But it's interesting when you sort of think back and remember. But we were so naive as well too. I'd had all this corporate experience and dealing with corporates and people and things. I thought, no worries. It'll be a breeze. But what I didn't realise is that, typical that, you've taken – and look, you can always, as I say, you can take the girl out of the country, but not the country out of the girl. But I'd become quite – you think that you know it all.
Yes.
And I was 38 probably at that time. Yeah. And so, came back to Bendigo, took over the business. Meanwhile, was pregnant with Aiden, had to sell up the house, find a house, and that was really tricky, but we got all of that done and what have you. And, so first day of trade, 1st of October 2010.
Wow.
And anyway, so look, we kept on the majority of the staff. We had to let one of the part-time sellers go. But then we had to learn everything it was about business and how to run a business and figures and budgets and just the accounting systems and just to learn how the business actually operated as well too. I'd always been involved with the business from a graphic point of view. So I'd always helped Mum when it came to, advertising in the weekly, doing the little ads for the weekly, when it came to the Yellow Pages advertising, when it came to her website. And that was, so that I sort of had that, that skill set to help her with it. Brochures, leaflets, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now it's quite difficult. I'll get someone else to do that for me.
Yes.
So had always had involvement with the business, but just not working on it that particular way. So, so that was a really bit of a slap.
Quite the learning curve, right?
A really big learning curve.
I'm interested in what was the passion for the business like? What was your opinion of the business? Was there often in family businesses and growing up or being a young person and looking into the family business, there can be an element of, that's just what, mum and dad do. I find it either goes two ways. It's one of, I don't really want to be stuck in something like that. Yeah. Or I'm so thankful that mum and dad have got this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it was probably because I'd always had that passion for fabric and interiors. I didn't appreciate the skill set. I didn't appreciate what it took, the knowledge that mum actually had as well. And that's where that naivety came into it. Yeah. I thought, breeze. How hard could it possibly be? But when we took it over, there was, Bendigo still is, and at that time, 15 years ago, that's a long time ago, where technology wasn't probably as advanced as what it is today. So there was a lot of gossip around town. Pam sold the business. Anne's no longer there, or Pam's no longer there. It's not the same, all of that. So there was a lot of convincing that we had to do.
Reputation management.
Yeah, that's right. So there was a lot of storytelling, and just thinking about it this morning, I don't think that we did it very well.
Right.
We kept the name Reanne.
Yep.
Because again, Mum had established it quite well. But we didn't do the story to say, although we kind of did in the Bendigo Weekly when I think back to it. And I suppose we didn't saturate it possibly as much. Yeah. But there were a couple of articles that we did in the weekly to say, daughter's taken over the family business, so it's still in the family, that sort of thing. Yeah. But I think... so there was a bit of uncertainty in Bendigo as to, who are these new owners? Where have they come from? Are they from the city? They think that they know everything. I'm not really quite sure how that was. It probably took us a good 12 to 18 months to solidify that and also to start to bring in our own clientele. Yeah. There were things that we improved cosmetically. Just more about the work, not so much the workflow, but more about the showroom and the presentation and how that was nice and cohesive, because Mum started off with one shop, then she took over the second shop. And so they were quite disjointed. And so with Justin's ability of, carpentry and things like that and being able to pull things together, we were able to sort of zhuzh it up a little bit and make it a little bit more fluid. through the
cohesive.
Yeah, that's right. Through the showroom a bit more presentable.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, curtain shops were pretty dowdy. They were like, if you probably went into a curtain shop down in Melbourne, especially I can remember going down to the ones in Essendon and things like that, and they were very very elaborate, you know, for that particular clientele, you know, the Italians and all the trims and the brocade and all of that sort of thing. But they were always pokey. They were filled with, you know, just they were jammed with so much stuff as well too. So, and I guess I just like things to be nice and fresh and light and space as well.
Yeah.
And we changed the footprint of where we were in Strath Hill quite a few times, and it's quite, you know, you think that you can't better what it is that you have.
Yeah.
You know, when you're stuck with a particular size, you think, oh, we can't possibly rejuvenate this anymore. But somehow or other you managed to do that, you know, just by taking, you know, either putting in another wall or another doorway, or getting rid of the two doors and just getting rid of the wall and that sort of thing as well too. So, we plodded along and we kept on going, and probably around about 2016, that was a really hard year, and I'm not really quite sure why it was, but we just got to the end of 2016, and I said to Jess, I just don't know if I can do this, because I just said, we've got two young kids, we just moved into because we were leasing when we first moved back to Bendigo, and we built a house. And I just said, I don't have the energy to do this anymore. You know, it's just too hard. The money's not coming in. I don't know what we're doing wrong. You know, what's the world trying to tell us? It's just, I'm just done. It's just too hard. Anyway, I don't know. You get down to the bottom and you go, ugh. And it's like you've voiced it, and then there's something else that comes from behind you and go, come on, just pick yourself up. Yeah. Just get on with it. And we did.
This was year 6.
Yeah, that's right. So whether or not that was the itch, you know, they say. So anyway, so we kept on going, and we got through Christmas, and then we got into 2017 and things started to pick up again. And it's really interesting, and I can't remember what was going on at that particular time, whether or not there was elections or whether or not it was, you know, the farmers, whether or not there was something happening with weather, drought, that sort of thing as well too, because we have found in the past that does affect sales and spend as well. Yeah. Because if the farmers are not spending, then it trickles down, and then in the regional centres and cities, it eventually gets to here as well too. Yeah. And we've found also too with state, federal elections, always people just put the brakes on. They go, let's just see what's going to happen. So that, you know, there's all of that sort of learning curve as well.
All the things you wouldn't expect to need to consider or think about when running a business. Yeah. It's phenomenal the amount of impact that economic environment, people's opinions of life and their safety impact their spending. Yes. And in a business like yours, which is purely dependent on someone deciding to upgrade or
and it's not a small spend.
No.
Like it can be, but if you're looking at building, renovating, then it's a complete. It's like it's not like you wake up one morning and go, right, I want a house full of curtains. I'm prepared to spend, you know, $10,000 on a house of new drapes, blinds, whatever. It's, you know, it's something that you plan to. So there's a lot of that, you know, and I think actually probably what we did do, which was probably what has worked for us a lot, is radio advertising. We've always found that has been a really good medium. We dabbled in TV once or twice, but that just never really took off. But radio advertising has really worked for us. And I think that's possibly what we did back in 2016. We got our name out there, and then things started to churn again. And we had a good manager at the time at what was 3BO, and he put together a really good script, and it just seemed to work.
Nice.
So that was probably the turning point, and
Yeah.
then people started to come back in. So that was really good.
Yeah, it changes your perspective on business when
does.
Money starts coming in, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does. It just takes that pressure off.
Yeah, it
and you
does.
just think, oh gosh, all right, now we can breathe again.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard because when you're stuck in that financial crisis, all you can think about is, how am I going to pay my staff? How am I going to pay my creditors? How are we going to put food on the table? All of that sort of thing. And it's not like, well, at that particular time I was thinking, well, maybe I need to go back, need to learn another trade. Maybe, I'm not really quite sure. And I guess the other thing that's held us together is our staff, because it's a place of their employment, and we felt commitment to keep them employed.
Yeah.
And we've got a great team with us, and they've travelled with us, and that's what's probably kept us going. You can't. It's all very well for us to go, right, well, that's it, we've had enough, we're going to wipe our hands of this and then step away. You've also got to think about them as well too. So, what their commitments are, and do they have families, and, that as well too. So then 2018 came along, and we thought, we're really outgrowing our space. I had extra help. We put on an extra part-time or casual employee, rather, Lee, who still does our books. Caitlin and Helen, who have been with us since, Caitlin's been with us for 8, Helen's been with us for 14, so right at the very beginning. And we then branched, and Caitlin came to us from Jimmy Possum.
Yep.
So when Margot closed down Jimmy Possum, Caitlin was living in the same street as Justin's mum and dad, and then, I've heard that Caitlin's looking for work, and she's a qualified upholsterer. She was doing a furniture design at the time. So we said, how about it? And she came along, and she started off part-time because she was still doing her studies for furniture design. And now she's going gangbusters. So we've gone from our core focus is still window furnishings, but now we've branched into upholstery.
Oh, wow.
So reupholstery, that's always been a bit of a thing that I like to do. So, you find the old classic chair, and, I hate to see old furniture being, left out on the street. So I've been often to snaffle something up from the tip or from the side of the road and jam it in the back of the car and say, look what I've got. So I think that's been an asset to us as well, and that's growing as well.
I want to talk more about that, and I want to set the scene here of what Fabriq is, and then we're going to pull apart. We've heard a little bit of the journey of getting to there, and there's a lot in the rebrand and what that meant for, and what that journey was like. But can you set the stage for us? What is Fabriq now?
Yep.
Industry, scale, customer base, where do you serve, all that kind of thing?
Yep. So the reason for our rebrand is because we felt that Reanne never got to a point where it just didn't reflect what it was that we do and who we are and what we offer. We've always had our workroom, which has always been the feather in the cap and the jewel in our crown.
Yep.
And that's been, that's what set us apart from the others.
What is the workroom?
The workroom is sewing machines. So Caitlin and Helen head up the workroom. So we've got our own sewing stations, our cutting tables, our ironing tables. So all of our soft furnishings are made in our workroom, connected to our showroom. So when people walk into our new place at Matchett Drive, they'll walk into our lovely open-spaced showroom. But then they'll see beyond our workroom.
The work's getting done.
That's right. So they can see where everything is being made.
Wow.
So the years of experience is just so long. It's terrific. So, so that the creativity there, the attention to detail, the quality assurance as well too, and also being able to, particularly manage tricky projects as well, rather than sending it down to Melbourne and hoping that the workroom understands the instructions.
Uh-huh.
So that's the creativity side of it. The story behind Fabriq is because with my love of fabric, colour, texture, and different applications for it as well. And then if you sort of then go down the other road of wallpaper and trims and things, it's all about just this beautiful plethora of creativity and colour and just creating things that are beautiful. So we put it to Dale and Leah at Studio Inc. to come up with a variety of different words and things, and told them the journey, told them what it is that we do, our passion behind being different, being able to service people from, yes, Bendigo regions, but also those for in surrounding districts, Wedderburn, Heathcote, a little bit in Echuca, Castlemaine, Guildford, and then we've also been down to the coast. So customers that have been here that have a holiday home down in Ocean Grove, we've serviced them down in Ocean Grove, Point Lonsdale, and that's been wonderful to be a part of as well.
Yeah.
Justin and Ryan are actually heading down to Melbourne for a customer that we serviced in Malden, and they're looking to sell their house down in Brighton, and so we're just doing a bit of a zhoosh down there, and then so they're just doing the zhoosh down there, and then they're moving on to another house in South Melbourne. So so we go wherever the work is.
Yeah.
And also too, I think the other thing is that's important to us is to work with local businesses as well. So we've had that opportunity to work with
the Rebrand.
Yeah. Yes.
So tell me,
right.
they came up with Fabriq.
Yes.
What was your initial impression of the word, the brand?
Yeah, it was. It sounds very French, but we're not French. But it just seemed to click.
Yeah.
And then the motif of the little bird is the bowerbird, because the bowerbird is the collection of all things pretty, and to make your home delightful and appealing for your soulmate.
Yeah.
So it's all about the collection of beautiful things, and that's basically what we are. And I mean, further down the line is that should we ever want to sell the business, well, then they're selling that package rather than a particular name.
Great.
So
that's a really unique and excellent angle to have on what you build in business is half an eye on what am I building and why would it be valuable in and of itself. I can hear that in what you say, if you ever want to sell, you know that what you're building will have intrinsic value in and of itself, disconnected from the people. Was from when you started in business in 2010, 2009, how long did it take you to get to the point of understanding what a business is, that it's not just a job, but how to structure and how to build a business that has intrinsic value?
Yeah. We've always been about integrity and honesty, trust. It's also been about the people as well too. If you can have a great team behind you that trust you, then they can come along for the journey as well too. And they, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the team that we have, that we rely on them wholeheartedly, not only just to do their job, but just to be a part of our family as well too. And that's been quite key. I've been caught where we've needed other seamstresses or machinists in the workroom, and we've employed them based on their skill, but haven't really thought much about their personality, and we've run into conflict with that, and that's been really that's hard. Yeah. So now it's more about, okay, you might have the skill, but really what I'm looking for is the right personality to go into our group. So that's really key. Clarity is also really important in regards to our customer service as well. You have to be spot on with what it is that you're going to deliver. They say over promise, under promise, over deliver. So there's always that. sometimes, and look, and sometimes there are mistakes that are made, but, as long as you're honest and get on with it and promise to come back to fix it, all of that sort of thing, that's really good. And it really disturbs me when customers have come to us and said, oh, and we weren't really pleased, and now we've wasted and all of that, and it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling.
It is a really bad feeling. It's not great. So, so
I want to touch on that point there, because that's a wonderful kind of outcome to have, a really solid process for delivering value to customers and consistency across your service offerings. So can you run me through a little bit, did those kind of systems and processes already exist from your mum, like the customer journey, and getting the right information?
Yeah, I think so. And it's just been a case of us learning along the way too. As I said, Mum had a wealth of knowledge, and it was all up there or all in here.
Yeah.
And it was just it's just a learning process, and we had to learn along the way. I mean, Mum stayed with us for a short time during the business to sort of help us and guide us and things like that. So she'd take us out on consultations, and, she'd say, this is how you do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. So there was a lot of learning that particular way. And she said, you're going into people's homes, and so you need to be quite respectful of their space and their place. What she also said as well too is that, you are going into people's homes, but if you ever get to an address and you don't feel safe, well then I think I've only had to do that once.
Wow.
And I think Justin's only had to do that once as well too.
Wow.
So it's just interesting. So you see all different kind of people, and I guess the other thing is that you have to adapt to your communication process as well too, and you've really got to listen. Yep. You've got to listen to what it is that they're looking for. They might not know what they're looking for, and so you can always offer your opinion. They say, oh, well, what would you do? I say, well, if it was me, I'd do X, Y, Z. Yep. However, it's your house and you've got to live with it. Yeah. And so if it doesn't really make you happy, or if it's not really exactly what you think how you're going to use it, well then let's look at another alternative as well too.
Was the process of learning that, there was a training element and a takeover process from your mum, but what was the process, have you had to expand that outside your head yet and
so
record it?
I started to do that towards the end of last year, but no.
Still contained
it's still
largely.
Contained in the head. And look, and it's the same thing in the workroom. It's been, because our team has been with us for such a long time. It's just, and look, and it's probably not very wise. You probably need to have everything documented and official and all of that sort of thing. But we don't. A lot of it is just all within everybody's head too. So I guess that's probably not a wise thing.
Well, it's a really positive thing that you've been able to retain and make your staff feel at home and like they don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a saving grace for not having all of the systems and processes.
But it's, I guess, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's just trying to find that time to extrapolate all of that. However, in saying that, we do have, phone systems is this and all of that sort of thing. And I guess, by collaborating or working with, an efficient accountant and one that's got your back and one that's looking out for you as well too, that's really important. Yeah. Yes. So, yes, it's not, you can't be perfect at everything.
That's right.
And the thing is, when you're running a small business, you've got so many multitudes of hats that, sometimes you're just going to go, right, well, look, that's working. We know how we work. We know how, when a job comes in, this is the process, and everybody knows what it is that needs to be done. Yep. Communication is key. If you follow up on your messages, follow up on your emails, all of that sort of thing. And it might not be immediate, but we do get back to people. Yep. So it's just about everybody knowing exactly where they are. So, it's tricky, but
no, that's good. So build out the picture of Fabriq from an operations perspective for me. So who and what roles and services have you got working in the business? We've heard a bit about the workroom. I'd
Yep.
love to build that out and just hear, what different people you've got and what different skill sets and what different service offerings that you deliver now.
Yes. So between myself and Justin, I primarily do all the measuring consultations and the showroom work.
Yep.
Justin and Ryan head up. Also, too, they do measures and consultations, but they mainly do a lot of the installation processes.
Yep.
What we're finding, and then there's Lee, as I said, there's Lee that does all of our bookkeeping, and she's with us on a permanent part-time basis.
Yep.
In between juggling her lawn bowls and looking after her grandchildren.
Nice.
And so she's an asset to the team. And yes, and then there's Caitlin, who is also in the workroom from the drapery point of view, but then also our upholstery side of things. So the upholstery side of things will go from reupholstery of furniture.
Yep.
Currently, we've got a large project going through the workroom of Jimmy Possum suites being reupholstered and redone.
Wow.
That are 10 years old, and so they need a bit of a revamp because customers sort of changed her colour scheme in the house as well too. So we've gone through all of that process.
Cool.
So there's that. So the other part of upholstery is our pelmets over our window furnishings. What else? Soft furnishings. So bed heads, we're getting to custom bed heads as well too, and cushions and ottomans, that sort of thing. We're finding too a lot of people are bringing in, their great aunts or great grandma's chair and things like that they just can't bear to let go of, but they want to repurpose. So that's really great. My mum, she still comes in 1 and a bit days per week just to keep her hand in on it.
Nice.
And she loves it. So it's a bit of pocket money, but it's just still keeping her active as well too. And,
nice.
She's so fit. She's just amazing. Then we have another casual employee, Donna, who actually used to sew for Mum back in the day. But then her husband had his own business and she left Mum's business to go and help him. And then they just recently sold their business. And I said to Donna, when we were still back at Strathhill, I said, are you looking for any sort of, we need someone to come on a casual basis? And she said, yep, absolutely, no worries at all. But she said, let's look at it next year. And so we gave her time to because she had things to do that she never had a chance to do. So she comes to sew for us, around about 2 days a week as well,
nice.
in between her dragon boats and her travelling and her looking after her grandkids as well too. So, so we have a really tight-knit team. So there's Helen, Caitlin, Lee, Ryan, myself, Justin, and Mum and Donna. So there's 8 of us. Yeah, so 6 permanents, and 2 casual. So
love it.
And we are looking for another person in our workroom that's younger, that also too we can train up.
Yep.
So that we can carry the load of both upholstery and also drapery as well too. So in regards to the consultations that I'm doing more of now, it's probably a bit more intense. So back in the day, it was pretty much cookie cutter kind of stuff.
Okay,
but now people are renovating, building, and their builds are becoming a lot more intricate. Their renovations are becoming a lot more detailed as well. You're finding a lot of mid-century homes now are being renovated here in Bendigo. And then they take the houses back to their bones, back to the frames. And that's then when it's more about just putting curtains on or blinds on a window. You really have to think about, okay, right, well, let's introduce a ceiling space so everything sort of goes up into a niche, that sort of thing. And it's more about preparation, and it's more about educating clients that if you want specifics with your home, with technology, hooking it up to Google, Siri, whoever it is that talks, that it's something that you need to do right at the very beginning of your design stage. So if you're talking to your architect, if you're talking to your builder, we need to have this conversation at the very beginning so that not only you can budget for it, but you can also implement it, and you can implement it with your power and your niches and into your trusses and into your frames and all of that sort of thing.
So
too.
there's a bit of, hey, Google, open the blinds going on.
Correct. Yes, there is all of that.
That's great.
I'm a bit of a dumb house, so yeah, it's still easy for me just to do it all by hand. But you have to move with the times, and you've got to be able to offer that to customers as well. That's probably more of a male thing. That's more enticing. Yeah, for that. For the husbands, partners, and things. Oh, I really like that. The remote. Yeah,
I can relate to that. Yeah.
We had a customer. He had. There was, I don't know, there hubs in every room or something or other, but because the hubs were so close to each other, when he said, hey, Google, open the curtains 50%, they'd all open. It's just like, so then he had to be specific, hey, Google, open up the curtains 50% in the living room or in the lounge room. And so anyway.
Yeah, it's a whole
all of
thing.
That. It is a whole thing.
You've got a digital overlay of your whole house, and to make it work really well, you have to recreate your house digitally in all of the in the app, and you have the right spaces and the right words for them all, and have the right like the hubs and the speakers in the right spots.
I just passed that on to Justin. I said, if you want all of that technical stuff, just speak to Justin and Ryan. They're more in that sort of, yes, we can do it, but I'm not the person to talk to. I know where you need to put things. I know where you need to do the power and that sort of thing. But, we need to talk about those things early. So
you've got a good team.
Yeah, so it's all about – and that's evolving too. So, and I like to think that when people walk into our new showroom that they can see that as well too, and they go, wow, this is so – and I never appreciated the old place because it was dark and it was crammed and it was full and it was overflowing, and, it was health – hazard as well too. You'd be stepping over deliveries and things, but now we've got all of that all sorted.
You've got space.
But yes.
Melanie, you've come from, I heard in your journey, 2016 was a low point, and I know that point all too well, and nearly every business owner listening to this will know that point. You're at a stage now where you've got your own space that's been of your own design, you've got your own brand. Tell me a little bit about the things that you look at, like firstly, scale of business, right? How many projects are you doing? And then tell me a little bit about what makes you feel successful, thankful about where you're at now compared to then.
Yeah, it's really interesting question. Look, it's and even though we're in a shiny new building as well, people come in and go, well, this is really fancy. And we go, yes, we worked really hard for the last 5 years to get to where we are, and we're still working really hard to stay afloat and to keep it all nice and to have that look that we know what it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's because you go into that whole self-doubt, or not all the time, but there are times when you think we've got this, we know exactly what we're doing, and then it's like the bum falls out of everything and you go, well, where did that come from? It's like, oh God, okay. And then you reinvent yourself again, and it's just surprising, as I said to you before, it's surprising how many times you can reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
You hit those lows, and last year was great. So last year we moved in February 24, and we made sure that our story was really clear, that we brought people along with us.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was great. Everybody, we rebranded before we moved. Everybody kind of got the gist of what our name was as well too, and that was also another journey. Well, you're not Reanne's. Why don't you do? And then you had to tell the story and all that sort of thing. Anyway, I think everybody's got it. And then moving along as well too. So you got to take everybody with you with the fear that you're not going to drop off the face of the earth, because people would go to you and they're, oh, you're not there anymore. Oh, you must have closed. So it was all about that. So we made sure that our communication was clear with that. But then it sort of got to the end of last year, and it was just like we fell off the face of the earth. And it's just like, right.
Wow.
Great. Terrific. What have we done?
Yeah.
And we didn't, and and that sort of started happening around about October, November. But I wasn't, yes, I was concerned, but I was more concerned about delivering for Christmas,
Yep.
you know, getting through that whole cycle. And we had work to do, and I was confident that that was all coming, and, you know, it was all coming through, and we had deliverables to do and what have you. And we had plenty of work to do in the new year.
Yeah.
Unfortunate thing was there was not much work coming in beyond that as
Aha.
well too. So, yeah, we hit a really low point in the new year this year, and we've just gone, again.
Yeah.
But what saved us, I guess when you hit that slump, I think it's really important to, one, ask for help and have those people that you can call on that's going to help you.
Yeah.
But also, too, if you've got a good network of friends and business associates as well, you can start to talk to them. And if you don't, well, you just still call and you say, hey, just touching base, you know, we're here, we've got this great new space. And I'm not one to shout from the rooftops. I'm not one to put myself out there. So this is really quite uncomfortable. No, but I'm getting used to it. It's all good.
You're doing good.
But yeah, so I'm not one to put myself up on that pedestal. But then it became quite clear that we needed to. So it was all, again, getting outside that comfort zone. Right, now we need to, again, say we've come to 12 months, we're into this new shop, and let's promote that. So, which we did. And that was probably the best thing that we ever could have done, because it got us on the phone. It got us talking to other builders outside of our network of builders.
Right.
And talking to them, saying, you know, is it busy? What's going on? Because that's been a real challenge as well too. And we've found is that when the building trade are quiet, we might be really busy. They'll be down, we'll be up, and then they'll come up, but then we'll be down. And so it's just
weird.
That roller coaster, because there's that lag of the build, the renovations and things. And you know, I don't envy the builders, because there's a lot of, it's tough for them too. So, you know, with permits and approvals and the cost of goods, and getting the trades and, you know, the labour and things too. Huge. So thankfully, yes, getting out on the phone and calling people and saying, hey, what's going on? Are you busy? And then, you know, some people would say, yeah, no, we're flat out, and you can hear the saws, the drills, the hammers and all that sort of stuff going. You're thinking, what are we doing wrong? Yeah. They said, no, look, it's coming. It's okay. There's just been a bit of a lag. It has been quiet, but look, it's coming. Yep. So it's just like, okay, just got to, you know, wait. But just get on your socials and get on the phone and get on the radio and re-look at the radio campaign. Is that script really working for us? Okay, no, it's not. Let's tweak it. Let's, you know, and it just seemed to come March this year. I don't know whether or not there was a shift somewhere, but I don't know. But the projects that we'd been cooking for quite a long time, bubbling away, and I knew it was coming, they just went off like fireworks. So, and what that has taught us is that also too, we need to be working a lot more in the business, not on the business. And that's where we got stuck. Yep. So
it's such a balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where with you can take your eye off the ball at one
and pretend it's not really happening.
Yeah.
This is not happening.
Go,
it's fine.
There's heaps of work I could be doing over here, but it's not really the work that needs to be done at that time.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Right. Tell me a little bit about your client relationships. How have you managed to bring in? You've mentioned builders, and you must have a good network of builders who refer to you on your product. But then, how do you balance that? And what is the kind of balance between builder relationships and private direct customer?
It's look, they come from everywhere. It's really bizarre. It's about associating yourself. Yes, to have that, you need to have that direct line to your domestic customer and to your direct customer. However, that can't always be relied upon. So you need to be able to build your relationships with people in the similar industry, and that are of a similar ethic, quality point of view as well to deliverables. So I guess what I'm saying there is too, so another exercise that we did earlier in the year is I just sent out a random email to E+ Architecture, found the contact and spoke to Pippa and said, hey, this is who we are. We'd really like to have the opportunity to work with you or to be able to show you our new space, because that was what it was. It was all about showing people what we have. And we're not just a curtain store, and they can see the quality in the product as well too. So it's about aligning yourselves with ourselves, with businesses that we can work well with, and also to deliver a product that is going to benefit their customers as well too. So it's all it's that interweb of forming a great relationship not only with the other business to business, but also being able to deliver what it is that you say you're going to deliver for their clients, so that their client is happy and it's also going to make them look good too. So you need that reliability and that trust. So we had a great session with E+ Architecture. Lucas and Rachel and the team came in, and it was amazing. And I was just so appreciative of their time and how thirsty they were for knowledge, because no one had ever explained, okay, well, motorisation, this is what you need to do. And for space, if you want to put this into here, you need to do this then, and all of that sort of stuff. And tracking systems and things like that. Because that's all part of their design as well too. So, and we're often, we're the last trade to go into a house, and often we're the last thing to be thought of, and you can't do that. You need, if you want a beautifully architecturally designed home that looks like something out of Grand Designs, you need to talk to us at the very beginning. So so it's a lot of that about that.
And how much energy and effort have you put into the B2B contacts versus the direct client relationships? I mean, you've said radio advertising, that's a mass
it was just still building
thing.
it, just still, tapping into it, and having, and just a simple thing about having an after 5 event together not so long ago with Todd and Kate from Todd Newman, and we've been building with them, been working with them for, they built our beautiful building as well too. So that's been, that was a journey, but we've been working with them for over a decade. So, so that's formed a really great relationship as well too.
Those relationships would be the most valuable ones you can make, right?
And then also getting into and working with interior decorators as well too. So So there's a good team, or there's good individuals of decorators in Bendigo as well, and just being able to work with them and their clients, being able to offer my experience and knowledge and technique, I suppose, as and the Fabriq offerings as well too, and being able to offer my knowledge as to what hangs right, what's looking good, the thread that, if you want this, the billowing shears and that sort of thing. If you want a linen, well, this is your linen. If you want a linen look, well, then this is your linen look. And just being able to educate people about how Fabriq and your window treatments can actually work hand in hand with your interiors and to actually finishing your home as well too.
Your model of business, is that unique in the curtain industry, curtains and blinds industry, that you create and you manufacture, you take raw fabric and you make the thing in-house? Is that unique?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. Like back in the day when Mum had the business, there was other curtain shops around town and they had their own workrooms as well too, or they may have had contract sewers there was a lot of contract sewers that used to sew from home. They used to go into the shop, pick up their stuff, take it home, put it on the billiard table, on the tennis table for measuring and all of that sort of thing. There was a lot of that, but now it's sort of becoming a dying art. So, we are the only workroom in Bendigo that manufactures here. And as far as I'm aware, look, there might still be a few contract sewers around in town as well too. The key with having our own workroom is, as I said before, you've got that quality control and you know exactly. And then if there is a hiccup, you can fix it. It hardly ever happens, but sometimes it happens. It just happens, as opposed to being, sending things away and not having that reliability as well too.
It's hugely valuable that you held on to that, but you already had it to start with. many businesses like yours, the scale game is controlling more of the supply chain and acquiring more of that external parts or bolt-on bits of the business that your suppliers, for example.
Yep.
Whereas you've already got the workroom, you've already got the supplier in that sense, which is really powerful. I'm wondering what else is next? Like, tell me what
I don't know. Oh, it's I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? Well, I just think it's more about it's really with the shift of our brand and our building, it really was a long-term dream, one that we probably didn't realize that was where we were going to end up.
Yeah.
And it's where we've built out at East Bendigo there on Matchett Drive. It's just going to be, we've really, we have actually, I think that area is going to be a great asset to Bendigo in regards to other industries and like-minded businesses moving there as well too. Reese Plumbing have just moved down the road on Pratt's Park. So, it's all it's interesting and good fortune, good luck. I'm not quite sure how you would see it, and it was a risk.
Yeah.
And it's been a massive risk and it's been a massive thing for us, mum and dad, very simple people, to undertake in our early 50s, and you think, and the kids are still at school, so you've got all of that to do. And there's been a lot of sacrifices that we've had to do as well.
Yeah.
And I think what's next is it's not to is probably to not let it fail. That's basically simplistically
leverage what you've
got.
Yeah.
And basically being able to build it that we do have systems and processes in place.
Yeah.
Certified ones, but build a business so that when it does come time for us to step away, we can be confident that we've done and that we've got the good team. But, we can essentially deliver it on a silver platter and say, here you go. And look, and we probably could now too, but, there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
There's still work to be done. The business constantly evolves. And as I said, it won't be surprising if we don't, flip again either this year, next year or whatever. So, this year has gone so fast already, but there's still another 6 months to go and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done and consistency is key.
Yep.
And just to build, but also I think the important thing is to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I do every time and everybody, the staff, that they enjoy coming to work. It's nice and bright. It's warm. It's clean. It's just a pleasure to be there.
Yeah.
And the customers enjoy it as well too. And I enjoy it because it's finally a space where I can be creative and I can really showcase what it is that there is on offer, that people don't need to go down to Melbourne to trail around all the fabric houses and what have you. I can get in what it is people want. And look, and there is a plethora of designers and brands, international brands that we could offer.
Yeah.
Then you've got to look at the price point as well too. Is that really our clientele? Is that really Bendigo?
Yep.
Maybe for a small percentage. So, it's great to have these books, but they just collect dust, that sort of thing. So it's all about being able to identify what's going to be good for Bendigo, what's going to be good for our clientele, but then also have that ability to source bits and pieces elsewhere.
Tell me, we're going to round this episode out in a second with some key kind of learnings and real bits of gold that you thought, man, that's why I've been able to get where I am. But the one last question before we get there is online. Tell me, for anyone listening, the eyes, just the head sunk. Tell me, have you leveraged an online presence for either acquiring customers or selling product yet?
Okay, so I'm not really great with the socials. Look, we're very basic.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I had a phone call from someone trying to sell me a technical thing whereby customers can visualize their curtains in their rooms and
Yes.
things, like Dulux have done as well too,
like
I suppose.
a 3D kind of
that sort of thing.
generator.
Yep. And I honestly said to the inquiry yesterday, I said, look, I have been approached before, and I said it's just not our business model.
Yeah.
We are a tactile business.
Yeah.
And what you see on the screen is not how it's going to play in your lounge room, kitchen, bedroom, wherever. It is something that customers need to feel, touch, and see. So our website is really important in being able to showcase projects that we've actually completed, not what somebody else has done, but what we have done, either individually, collaboratory with another business, decorator, builder. So that's important.
Yeah.
Some people aren't overly visual, and that's okay. And that's where I'm there to guide them. And whether that's just a simple scribble, just to say, right, well, from a bird's eye view, this is how it's going to look, or from a side view, this is how it's going to look, or from the room perspective, this is how it's going to look.
Yeah.
Right, got it, understand it. Social media, I do the best that I can.
Yeah.
Kristen from Keep It Simple, branding media, she's said, just do you.
Yeah.
And that's who I do.
Good.
And look, you build it up and it's either feast or famine. Sometimes I'll have lots of posts and then all of a sudden there'll be a bit of a drought and then there'll be more posts. But look, honestly, then with the radio backup, it kind of all sort of mingles and does what it's supposed to do. Word of mouth.
Yeah, huge.
Massive. Referrals, your Google reviews, so important. So technology, whilst it's great from a window perspective, it's something that I struggle with probably with your socials and your online presence. I'm not about to sell things online. We're not a Spotlight. We're not a that sort of Linkcraft, that sort of thing. That's not what we do. Because I believe in quality, and I also believe in being ethical as well too. And there's a lot of waste out there in the textiles industry, and it's just it's gut wrenching the waste that you see. And even with textiles now, they're becoming, in the textiles industry, especially in Europe, they're the leaders in being able to recycle fabrics and being able to make beautiful fabrics that you wouldn't think that are made from 100%, or 70% recycled wool, polyester, plastics, things like that. Unfortunately, Australia is behind the game in all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't see for our business, maybe whoever takes on our business might see that there's a gap.
Yep.
But from our fabric house point of view, so like there's plenty of people that can get on, our customers can get on to, the Sapel website or the James Dunlop website, or even Warwick, I think, are doing it now too, where there are visualisers, so they can say, I'll pick that fabric and what does that look like?
Yep.
But it doesn't really give a true indication as to how it falls.
Yep.
It's just a digital representation.
Yep.
So, yeah.
What I love about your business and what I can hear is that it's a premium service. The service is so key, and and I think if someone would really be able to put their hand on their heart and say what they'd prefer, is they want someone who really knows, who's easy to talk to, who will lead them through the process, and who will help inspire and guide them. And that's what I can see that you deliver and offer, Melanie. And I think I've often said it before, but we're in the age of authenticity. And so when in a world where there are so many digital options, the option that says, hey, I'll come out to your house, or hey, come in and feel the fabric options that, and I can take you through and I will walk you through what it could look like, what it could feel like. that is going to become even more of a premium feeling experience. Even if it doesn't cost a whole bomb more, it's going to feel like, oh, wow, this is in the real world.
And that's really key too, because it comes back to that knowledge and people and as we said before, like it's a long-term spend. It's a long-term spend. And it's not something that you go, oh, right, well, I need a new pair of shoes, for winter, this season or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, I got new drapes for, the bedrooms. I now need to update them, 2 years down the track. That's not how it works. You want to be able to know that whatever you've spent your money on, that it's there for the long term and it's there for 10, 15, 20, 30 years until you sell the house, downsize, move on. But you want to know that they're going to be well made, they're going to last the test of time, and they're going to keep you warm, cool, and absorb noise, that sort of thing as well too. So
I think the curtains in Mum and Dad's house, they were going on 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they need to suit you and the way in which you work around, move around, use your home, live in your home. But you can still have beautiful drapes but not spend the earth as well too. You can certainly spend the earth. You can certainly, go for the Rolls Royce of fabrics, but you don't have to either to still get the same benefit of what they do.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have those projects which are outside the square, a little bit colourful, a little bit different, quirky, whatever. And look, in there but the majority of it is the mainstream, and that's okay as well too. It's just being able to sort of dance a little bit in that creative field as well too, and that sort of fills your cup a little bit. But then know that you can still deliver, something that's still, that's going to stand the test of time. And then you add in your colour and your other bits and pieces with your wallpaper or your bed heads or your cushions and other bits and pieces as well, furniture and things too. So that's just sort of the other side hustle as well, which is growing as well.
More of the design and interior design kind of matching.
That's right. And it's just being able to, as you said, to hold their hand and just to guide them through, and you don't have to do everything all at once. If you can only cope with a room at a time, then we'll only do a room at a time. But if you feel that you want to do the entire house and go for broke, no worries at all. We are there to help you, guide you, and just because sometimes I can't do it like that either. Sometimes I need to step away and go, okay, let's just do this bit first. Let's just see how that all works, and then we can go into here.
Melanie, what would you give our listeners, might be other business owners, might be aspiring business owners, might be just business people, members of the community, what would you share with them as some key learnings over your time? And you've shared lots with us already, but what have been some of the things that you've really held on to and gone, that is what has made this business successful, or that's what's got us through?
I think integrity and honesty and deliverables and the quality is why we are where we are. We can be a business that you can rely on, and the people behind us, and they are who we are. And that is why we are where we are. What gets us up every morning to show up, and sometimes you don't feel like showing up. There's been plenty of times where you go, I just can't do this today. I don't know how I can bring comfort, inspiration. I don't know how I can keep myself going. I don't know how I'm going to hide this from I'm feeling like crap. And I don't want to go in today, and I'd really like to throw a sickie, but I can't. But you've got to show up for your team, you've got to show up for your people, and you've got to show up for your family as well too. And that's been hard. Justin and I, we work in the business, and we come home and we talk about the business, but that's been over time. When the kids were really little, we used to work to ridiculous hours after they were in bed. But now we get home, we go, and after running around after the kids, or getting dinner and walking the dog and all of that sort of stuff, you go, I'm done. And I think that has been really important, especially over the rebranding and the building journey of it as well too, is that is to look after yourself, because there were plenty of times there where you get so run down, and if you're not well, then the rest can't operate. And I think that that's really key, especially for me and for Justin as well too.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's also about saying, okay, right, we need family time. We need to really carve out some time for our family, or I really need to carve out time for me. Actually, I need to just step away and I need to have that time. So that's been a really big learning curve as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
What I hear is quality and your assurance of the quality of your product and your process, your people and the culture that you've built, and the adoption of Fabriq now within your team. They it sounds like they feel like that's their business, that's their home.
Yep.
That's what they're contributing to. And then the finding of balance, and
isn't that hard?
Yeah, the understanding of different seasons of business as well. Like at the start, you had to push like crazy, and you could. And as time goes on, you don't have unending supply of energy and drive to do it that way.
No. It's all because your kids are different ages.
Yeah,
and it all takes different strength and energy, different ways. So it's just, and also too, just don't beat yourself up about it. I mean, I say that now, it's a pot calling the kettle black, but it's just you just have to go, I just can't do everything.
Yep.
So, and that's okay too.
Yep. It's just about doing something, right?
Yep, that's right.
Oh, I love it. That's a great place to land this plane,
Is it?
Melanie. Yeah. Thank you so
Caleb.
much for spending the time with
Thank
me and
you.
sharing your journey.
No, thank you.
Your
It's
wisdom.
been a pleasure.
Yeah.
No, it's great.
Can't wait to go and see the new showroom.
Thank you.
Matchett Drive. If someone wants to follow you online, or they want to actually go out and see what it is we've been talking about, just give us the address and your web address as well.
So web address is www.fabriq with a Q, fabriq.com.au, and then you can I think our Instagram is Fabriq_Bendigo.
Nice.
And our address is 13 Matchett Drive, Bendigo. Or Strathdale. It's in between the two. So, but 13 Matchett Drive, Strathdale. So
put that address in and you'll find it.
Perfect.
I love it.
Lovely.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thanks, Caleb.
Well, that's it for this episode. If you really enjoyed listening, why don't you drop a comment in the comments below? Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you get updates on when all of the next ones come out. That really helps grow this little community of people that are diving into regional business and celebrating and learning more from it. So really appreciate your support, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.